What's up, Headless Horde? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking The Rings of Power, episode number 3. I will be back on Saturday with the review for episode number 4 that actually dropped last night. So I'm trying to catch up. Don't forget, on Sunday I will be live. We'll be breaking down episodes 3 and 4 for a full hour over on the live stream at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. But right now, let's break down episode number 3, and this one is titled The Eagle and the Scepter. This episode begins with a flashback of Elendil. Yes, welcome back. It has been 2 episodes, and now the 3rd, we finally get to see what is happening over in Numenor. So this is a flashback we start with, is Elendil trying to bring back Isildur's horse. Now, if you don't remember, Isildur was in the Southlands during the creation of Mordor and the volcano eruption and the earthquakes. And, we know as Lord of the Rings fans that he is not dead because he played such an enormous role in the future. But it was a small cliffhanger back in season 1, but we know that he is not dead. The horse, he's trying to control it. And, again, Elendil, who is Isildur's father, ends up letting it run off because he can't control it. The horse is upset. He's trying to run to Isildur, has no idea where he is. Beric, the horse, ends up in a dark, creepy forest. And this is a great scene because we actually get to see the horse, Beric. He ends up fighting off 4 different orcs, ends up killing 2 of them, and gets away. And he ends up going into this deep, creepy forest where even the orcs did not want to follow, and they even say a line that anything that goes in doesn't come out. As Beric kind of walks through this creepy cave, we see Isildur is trapped, and he's kind of wrapped in webs. And we then find out we are now surrounded by giant spiders and giant spider webs. Just when it seems like things couldn't got worse, who enters? Comes spiraling down. Unbelievable. We get Shelob. Now, if you don't remember, Shelob is the enormous spider that Sam has to fight, and is after Frodo. And here he's not as huge. Remember, this is thousands of years before. But it's pretty cool that they do bring this amazing, I don't want to call him a bad guy, but he is definitely a villain type in the series. And, I thought she looked great, and it was pretty cool. We see Isildur fight off. In the reason why we know it's Shelob, because this part was really cool. If you don't remember, in Lord of the Rings, Sam grabs him by like the fangs, and Isildur does the exact same thing. So for me, that's enough confirmation I need. But the showrunners did go on record saying that this is definitely Shelob. After they fight him off, he jumps on Beric's back, and they run out of the cave. We head over to Numenor, where we see Elendil is very distracted by the recent death of the Numenor's king, and he is having a really hard time grieving for his son. Again, thinking that his son is dead. His daughter, Arianne, calls out to him, telling him that he shouldn't blame himself for the death of Isildur. At the king's funeral, we see Queen Miro. Now, don't forget, Queen Miro went over to the Southlands, and remember, she came back blind. She shows kindness to her grieving mother, but it's clear that her leadership is being questioned, because she is supposed to be the new leader of Numenor. And you can just kind of see by some of the different scenes they show that people are really starting to question her. Pharazôn, who is Miro's cousin, tells her that she needs to choose between either wearing a white or a red coronation dress. And he is trying to lean her toward red. And I think the reason why is it's something different that shows maybe more power, because her father, the deceased king, always wore white. What she ends up doing is choosing white, basically to honor her father's memory. Meanwhile, we see Farazan meeting Arian, Keeman, and Lord Belzagar in a pub where they discuss Muriel's ability to actually rule now that she is blind. Arian tells the group that she has found something, and what we find out is that she finally tells them that she had found the Palantir, which is a powerful seeing stone hidden in the old king's chambers. We saw her find this back in season 1. As they are talking, Philandel, who is Isildur's friend, interrupts the group, and he's pretty furious that they are plotting against Muriel, and he reminds them that none of them fought in the battle like he did. So he is defending Muriel, and at the same time, he ends up shaming Arian for her actions because this is not what Isildur would have wanted. Across the sea, the villain Adar prepares his orcs for war against Sauron, saying they will never be safe while Sauron is alive. In Eregion, we see Durin and Disa, and they are meeting with Celebrimbor, who proposes making magic rings for the dwarves using the Mithril. And again, this is a powerful and rare metal that they ended up mining and finding back in season 1. And this is how they ended up creating the first set of power rings for the elves. Durin is unsure and wants to talk to his friend Elrond first, but Anatar pressures him. And this is a really interesting dynamic between these two characters. Right off the bat, you could tell Durin is questioning him and doesn't trust him. Like, he wants to know who he is, where'd he come from. And Celebrimbor is defending him the whole time. And I think at this point, Celebrimbor is already under the power of Anatar, aka Sauron. Anatar continues to pressure Durin to make this deal happen rather quickly, but you can tell because Durin completely just hesitates, and you just know he doesn't trust him. But then finally, Disa does end up urging him to speak with his father about this whole thing, about this whole plan. And again, if you don't remember, we have King Durin III basically stripped Durin the Fourth of all of his titles back in an argument in season 1. Anatar tells Celebrimbor that the High King Gil-galad doesn't want more rings made, which is actually a lie meant to rush Celebrimbor into forging them anyways. So again, complete manipulation. I don't know. Celebrimbor to me seems like a very weak-minded character, although he is absolutely amazing at what he does as a blacksmith. But at this point, there's no doubt that he's not already being controlled by Sauron. Celebrimbor then decides to move forward, ignoring Gil-galad's supposed warning. Later on, King Durin is then approached by his son back at Khazad-dûm, and he ends up listening to his son. But again, the king is kind of skeptical about these magic rings, not really trusting their power. We then head over to the Southlands, and Isildur and Beric now are traveling through these dead marshes. It's basically a haunted swamp filled with a bunch of dead bodies. They come upon a wounded woman. Her name is Istrid, and she mistakes Isildur for an orc and ends up stabbing him right in the thigh. Isildur later realizes her mistake and decides to join him on his journey. They end up wrapping up his leg. He's good to go, and they continue on. Arondir, we end up seeing, and Arondir is an elf who's a very, very good archer, and he had befriended another mortal named Browen. Now, Browen, this character had a lot of upside heading into season 2. At the end of season 1, we saw her get struck by one of these arrows. Well, because the actress did not want to return for season 2, we now see that Browen has passed away, and her son Theo is really struggling to accept Arondir's comfort and any type of help. He's kind of grown up a little bit, and he also kind of knows what he wants to do. He doesn't want to be, it seems to me he doesn't want to be latched on to Arondir. Now, during all of this, we see Beric is actually taken by a group of wild men. Isidore and Theo became friends during the funeral and just kind of talking. And Theo ends up suggesting that they go rescue Beric. And what happens is they sneak into this camp and they do successfully free him. Things quickly turn dangerous, though, when this camp is attacked because Theo is now captured by an unknown enemy. Now, I consider this a slight spoiler, maybe, but earlier in the episode, we did see Adar talking to this massive giant, and it seems to me like that might be the person who takes Theo, because Theo's definitely looking up at a massive creature, so that's kind of what I am thinking. So while all of this is happening, they had left Istrid behind, and you can see that she secretly is now burning off a mark that shows that she once served Sauron. So she ends up taking a knife and burning it into the flames, and then she ends up burning herself and trying to remove it. Yeah, it looked like it hurt. We now head back to Numenor for the couple final scenes of the episode. We have Muriel's coronation. She's looking lovely in the white dress, and everything is kind of going to plan. We do hear some scattering of people yelling out words at her, like she doesn't deserve it, she's no ruler, things like that. So during all of that noise, we then get Arianne, who reveals the Palantir to the crowd, and this causes complete and utter chaos. Pharazôn uses this moment to turn the people against Muriel. Again, remember, Pharazôn is her cousin, but he wants the control for himself of Numenor. So for the final shot at Numenor, we see an enormous eagle swoop down and land right there, and they start chanting Pharazôn. And what I mean by them, it's the entire crowd here at this coronation. And he raises his sword, and that's kind of where that ends. So we're not quite sure, but it makes it look like he may be taking the reins. Finally, we get a little shot at the end, like a little cut scene. Kind of like how they do that. You think the episode's over, and this has now been a regular thing here in the first 3 episodes. But the episode then ends with Annatar and Celebrimbor forging these rings with King Durin, Prince Durin, and Disa all present, fulfilling their agreement to bring Mithril, because that was part of the plan, is that the elves said they would forge them for them, but they need the Mithril. So again, you can see the manipulation with Sauron here. The King Durin didn't want these rings, but he ends up agreeing, and now he's got to give a Mithril regularly. So Sauron is just the way he manipulates other people. As they go and create these rings, Celebrimbor has the Mithril in his hand, and he's literally about to drop it. And what happens? Annatar comes over and asks if he could do it. So obviously, by him taking that Mithril, he is now corrupting these rings, and this is obviously what leads to this amazing story heating up, and all the characters are now back in action. We have now seen pretty much everybody, and everyone is kind of doing their own thing, and I got a funny feeling that by the end, we're all going to be together. Now, what I'm really curious to see is now we have the Elven rings, we now have the Dwarf rings, so who's going to be the one who agrees to make the rings for man? Because that's what I'm kind of curious on. Is it going to be Isidore? Is it going to be, Elendil? I don't know. But I'm here for it. Again, not a episode I would consider full of, action. We have the amazing scenes with the spiders. I thought that was great. I love when the eagle swooped in. Again, it changes the dynamic over in Numenor. And again, I like that we kind of closed the book on Bronwyn. We did briefly see her. At least it was supposed to be here. I personally don't think it looked like her in episode 2. I actually didn't even mention that in my breakdown because I just thought it just didn't look like her, even though I pretty much knew it was her. But anyways, again, I did enjoy the episode. I would say this was just on par with episode 2, setting up more of the story because, again, we had to bring back these characters. This is one of the big issues with these type of shows. This cast is huge, just like Game of Thrones. And again, anyone out there who has watched Game of Thrones and you're not sure about this series, you just need to remember that, like Game of Thrones, it is a slow burn type show with many, many characters. They try to give everybody their due, but there's so many characters involved. And again, this is based on books. So I think the show directors are doing a nice job. I so far am enjoying this season more than season 1 through 3 episodes, but I would give this episode 3 out of 5 Gandalfs.
You shall not pass! You shall not pass! You shall not pass!
All right, guys, now it's your turn to tell me what you think about episode number 3. Are you enjoying the first 3 episodes? And then don't forget, 7:45 p.m. this Sunday, be breaking down episode 3 and 4. We're going to get much more in depth. I hope you guys can join us. Thank you so much for watching this. Guys, don't forget to keep those heads on, and I'll see you guys in the next video.